I need to jump in here. We do have a projection to make in the Texas Senate primary on the Republican side.
There you go.
John Cornyn, the incumbent Republican U.S. Senator from Texas, and Ken Paxton, the Texas Attorney General, will both advance to a runoff election, which will be held on May 26th in Texas, in order to simply pick which Republican candidate will represent the party on the U.S. Senate line of the ballot in November. This is a remarkable situation for an incumbent U.S. Senator to be in. As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Cornyn has ever lost by anything smaller than double digits. He's never not won by double digits. Yeah. In Texas, he, again, as Jen Psaki was noting earlier this evening, about a year ago, was very close to being elected Senate Majority Leader in the United States Senate, and now is paddling for his life in terms of this runoff.
And I think it's important to just remind people that he won this barely, or has a couple points ahead of Paxton by spending a boatload of money, a lot of money from outside groups. He really battled to get that 43% to 40.4%. And the difference now between them, and I saw somebody quoted saying this, you love voters because they say things, you're like, that sticks with me, who said, you know, I like John Cornyn. He's not bad. But Ken Paxton, like, I'd walk across hot coals for that guy, right? And if Ken Paxton has, I know he's corrupt, I know all of the things about him, but if he has the fire in the belly of his supporters, John Cornyn still has a huge problem here.
And if you think that John Cornyn spent a lot to get here, just wait how much gets spent in the next 12 weeks.
70 million in ads.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to put Donald Trump in like a Truman Show compartment so that he can't intervene in the race at all. I mean, I'm telling you, because, I mean, he is dispositive here, right? Like, if he comes down either way, all of this is directed about dealing with the big guy.
And I will just share this with you. John Cornyn reacting to the news that he will be going to the runoff against Ken Paxton. Cornyn said this, quote, Texas Republican primary voters will learn more about Ken's indefensible personal behavior and failures in office. Quote, Judgment Day is coming for Ken Paxton. Thank you all. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I just want to react to John Cornyn's statement. I mean, one of the things that's so sort of fascinating and sort of grimly comedic about watching these sort of battles in the era of Donald Trump is, like, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, so you're going to attack a Republican because what? He was corrupt. He self-dealed. He stole from the public till. He acted terribly in his private life with women. Like, does that work anymore? I mean, there is this sense that, like, maybe it does. Maybe there's a different set of rules for Donald Trump, and you can still run a campaign against your opponent in a Republican primary in which you basically say, this person is of such low character, you should not vote for him. But that has been a tougher and tougher and tougher sell in the era of Donald Trump, who basically occupies the status of anti-hero in the imagination of Republican primary voters. And the more that you talk about, you know, him or you know, in his character, the more they're like, that sounds great to me.
And let's just to set the table in terms of what's going on with Paxton. So Cornyn has been running ads against Paxton in this primary, calling him a wife cheater and fraud. He's noting that Paxton's wife filed for divorce from Paxton on, quote, biblical grounds, which, as we noted earlier, was not about, you know, it was not about, like,
eating shellfish.
The shellfish restrictions in Leviticus, exactly. He then explicitly says in the ad, Paxton then has since started sleeping with a married mother of 7. I mean, we're really getting into the nitty-gritty in terms of what's in these ads. Paxton was overwhelmingly impeached by Texas Republicans in the state legislature. They impeached him by overwhelming numbers in 2023. That was him allegedly abusing his office in order to conceal an affair. He's also been under federal investigation for bribery allegations. DOJ only declined to prosecute those bribery allegations in early 2025. He also was under state securities fraud investigation and had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to settle those claims with his alleged fraud victims. And
it's a 2.5-point race tonight, right? So, I mean,
but it isn't. There's 12 points, 13 points that Wesley Hunt has as of right now, and that's what this next stage is going to be about. It's going to be about going after those, and in the generally, the way it works with an incumbent like this, when you have a chance to vote against the incumbent, you make your best pick in voting against the incumbent. That Wesley Hunt vote easily could have gone to Paxton. Paxton's a much bigger candidate. They chose not to. There's something about those voters that they don't want to go for the wife, cheater, and fraud. And Rachel, the most interesting thing about that ad against Paxton is that Cornyn didn't pay for it. All of the Republican members of the Senate paid for it in their Republican
NRSC ad.
It's
so good.
So every single Republican who you, Ken Paxton, would like to join in the Senate has already paid to tell Texans that you are a wife cheater and fraud. That's in their ad against him.
Well, and to Chris's point, this is that term we used to hear about moral authority, which was big on the moral majority and the Christian right, and it's all been shredded. And then there's something else beneath that, which is this anger at the Epstein class. And part of that has been exposed to be bipartisan, and you can look at some of that, and there's been accountability efforts on that. But a lot of it is Donald Trump, from being someone who partied with Epstein and hung out with him and sent him a vulgar birthday card, to being a president whose DOJ fought against any transparency or accountability for the Epstein class. And so it's beyond ironic. It's ridiculous that Donald Trump ever rode the wave of any of that. And yet it does seem like there's some comeuppance, because there are people who are angry about that stuff and the wider elitism and the idea that these rules that have been subjected to everyone but the people making them is a powerful double standard argument. And so it's like, if you should get a second chance because you had a marijuana offense in college and still be able to get a job, right? A lot of people say second chance. These people would say no, not if you're a regular worker or you're from a marginalized community, and they would lecture and they would talk about welfare queens. And then they're the same people that want to keep